How about now? Is that working now? People saying they can't hear anything. I wasn't on mute at all. There was no mute. Had unclicked the mute button. Very distinctly unclicked the mute button. The really annoying thing is that there's a delay now between one thing and the other. How about now? He speaks that I comprehend. Oh, Chris, I've known you way too long for this not to be funny. There we go. Hooray. Not sure what happened there. Here's what happened was, I won't change the screen so you can see OBS because it kind of does the weird Inception thing on the screen. Essentially, when you look at this, and for people who use OBS, I genuinely do recommend it. And as you've seen, I'm a bit of a blunt wedge when it comes to really fiddly bits of technology. But I have like an audio mixer, and it kind of lists the desktop audio, which is what plays the sound from the music, right? And then underneath it's got the microphone and the aux, and it's quieter than normal. Not a disaster though. Let's turn that all the way up and figure that one out. Let's see if we can't figure that out. Very strange. Very strange that it's quieter than normal. I wonder why it's done that. Is that better? He wonders to himself. Still not coming through awfully very loudly, am I? Which is a bit strange. Let's test that one. That sounds a little bit better. We'll try that. We'll try that and see what happens, just because I've just done a slight swap from one thing to the other. So we'll work that out and we'll keep rocking rolling. Either way, now it's still quiet. Why is it so quiet? Very strange. Very, very odd. I'll try standing a little bit closer to the microphone in that case, if that's what's going to cause the problem. Because yeah, you're right. Normally I'm a lot higher up. There's no audio filters gone funny, is there? Wonder what happens if I do that one. Oh, that's too loud. Let's try that. Is that better? That feels a little bit better. Well, at least it's not my CPU exploding and everything going really slow. This is really annoying as well because it's a night where I've got to get out. It's a night I've actually got to finish on time just because I've got something I've got to do. There we go. That does sound better, doesn't it? That sounded better on there. Right, let's get on with this. Guys, gals, and the gender fluid and all beyond the binary. It's Wednesday night and it's now well after 8 p.m. because my computer hates me. And welcome back to the BOTW What's Current stream. My name is Anthony Russell, here to take you through the weird, wonderful and wacky world that is the National Ice Hockey League structure here in Great Britain. We focus on the National Division. That is our bread and butter. That is our home port. But of course, what it does mean is we will take you through absolutely anything and everything across the NIHL. That means the National Division, as well as Division 1 and Division 2 in the north and in the south. And now we've learned how volume works. Hooray! Definitely no idea what happened there. Could tell something was slightly askew because normally it has like 2 bars and it only had 1 that was flipping backwards and forwards, but that's much better. Now we know how to manually rig that, and we don't have an echo by the sounds of it, so that's really good as well. So I've learned which microphone to use, which mic input to use, and which camera input to use today. It's going really well. One of these days, I should hire somebody to do this bit for me. And there we go, Andrew already on the ball in terms of that. Mark Richardson's 1,000th game as a member of the Cardiff Devils, and the Devils are repaying him in kind. They lead by 3-0 in tonight's Elite League clash between them and the Sheffield Steelers. Josh McDonald, Ben Davies and Gleeson Fournier with the goals early on. But before we kick into too much and talking much more about the NIHL and everything across all 5 divisions, we need to do a little bit of housekeeping. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, your number one source for all things related to the NIHL. Of course, we are on this sort of weird little excursion. I'm doing some commentary, done a couple of weeks of commentary, got a couple more left, and got some over Christmas for the Guildford Flames, which means that you get our Banners on the Road series, which I used to write up every game that I've gone to. We're doing this little mini series that I've called In the Box. In the box thinking, which just gives you a bit of a different view of the game from what I've seen inside the commentary box. The machinations going in and around it, what I've seen when I've been commentating on it, looking back on it as well. And yeah, it's just been a lot of fun to try and do that. Obviously, I was at Guildford versus Glasgow last week. I'll be at Guildford versus Coventry this week. Quite a surreal game. I'll talk about that later for me. Just to kind of go into some detail there. But also as well, if you haven't already, and I cannot believe the fantastic wave of positiveness that we've got out of Andrew Day's WNIHL primer, all that you need to know about the WNIHL. I believe, and Andrew will correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe this was his writing debut, writing about hockey. Obviously, tweets about hockey all the time. Our social media scoreboard supremo, as I labelled him, obviously, backs hockey to the hill all over the place. But to get him to be able to write this has been really, really cool. Really, really enjoyed it. And if nothing else, it's just been really, really great to see the positive response to it as well. I had the father of a Streatham Storm player go, really great to see this. Really, really thanks for putting it out. And I said, go find Andrew and thank Andrew, because Andrew wrote it. And all I did was click a few buttons and correct a few spelling mistakes. And kind of make the thing look pretty on the website. Andrew's... a lot of us, we think massively of Andrew as it is anyway. Does DJs for the Queen Bees, the social media game updates for the Romford Raiders. Like, he does all of this really, really cool stuff. So people opened doors for me to kind of be creative and do other things. Massively delighted to allow Andrew that opportunity as well. All I will say, mate, is please keep going. Find other ways to get those bits and pieces out there. People clearly enjoy it. So that's for you. And if you want Andrew to write more, go bug Andrew, and maybe he'll find some time to write more. But maybe he might have to do it as he'll fit it in around all the other bits and pieces and being a dad into the bargain. So, but yeah, massively proud of that. That and 13 years worth of other stuff that you can check out over at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. Also, as well, we are live on YouTube Wednesday nights 8 PM when all the technology. When all the technology actually works. We tried to start on time, didn't work today, of course. But what you do get is this is here, and we will have this fantastic little community where we chat through bits and pieces. You get the warm-up question as well, so if you come in a bit early, you can have a chat about that, and do keep sticking them in throughout the show. But that's the great bit about the chat. Questions, comments, thoughts and feelings, anything that you want to throw out as we chat our way through the NIHL, please do stick it in. But of course, if you are going to use the chat, please do remember the golden rule here at BOTW. That is DPAD. Don't be a dick. Be respectful of other people's thoughts and feelings, and we are all going to have a jolly good time. Hello all, and hello Graham, who I see has joined in the chat as well. He will be a very, very happy man after some of the results in North 1 this past weekend. But we will talk about the National Division first. And of course, not only are the MK Lightning top, which we'll talk about in a bit, but movement in the Thunderdome as well. A bit of a weird night for them on Sunday in their match against the Bees, which we'll chat about in a moment when we get into the National Division results. But Ben Brown leaves the Thunderdome to return home to Dundee. He has gone and joined the newly reformed Dundee Rockets in the Scottish National League, which... you assume he has gone home for a reason, and hopefully whatever that reason is, it is positive and not a problematic one, but great for him. And the Rockets are also trying to make a big push in the SNL, and maybe that's something that we here at BOTW need to have a bit more of a look at the SNL. I kind of figure out some bits and pieces from there. But we have had a response. So MK lose a defenseman and they respond by signing a forward, which was a bit weird, but not an unfamiliar name to British hockey, although maybe slightly unfamiliar potentially to some folk who didn't pay attention to the old Elite League. And well, one goes to Dundee and one comes from Dundee. Sort of. Richard Hartman Jr., the son of former Edinburgh Capitals fan favourite Richard Hartman, he's been playing a chunk of this season in Slovakia, but has now returned to Britain to make his first foray into the NIHL, having played in the junior systems at Murrayfield and at Dundee, having played for the Dundee Tigers, I believe, last year. Certainly played for one of the SNL sides in Dundee, but been playing in the under-20s league in Slovakia in his native land there. Is now here as part of the NIHL. And I looked at this signing and I said two things. One, why have you signed a 13th forward? Which was a conversation I had with a couple of other people. And also the other thing is that you've signed a young British trained player. Are you Slava Kulikov? What's going on here? Because Richard Hartman Jr. screams Slava signing, and instead Tim Wallace has figured, well, if you can't beat them, join them, and works it out that way, which is definitely different. Somebody must be hurt at MK, because otherwise, why are you rolling 13 forwards in the NIHL? You don't need to. It's definitely a bit of a strange one there. But I'd be fascinated to hear from any MK fans what they think about that. Because, yeah, bit of a strange one. Don't quite get it myself. However, he does look a very, very useful player. Much in the same way that I seem to have had arguments with, or discussions with Steelers fans on social media today about the Steelers signing yet another netminder when they have a lot of netminders that they could have stuck in net. But, it's one of those things. I get why they've signed it. I also don't quite understand why I've signed it, and these two parallel tracks can exist in my head, and also it's not really that much of a criticism. A few people, like I say, a few Steelers fans are just like, why are you saying this? Well, aside from the fact that if you've ended up on my account and any of my social media accounts, and I'm talking about hockey, firstly, hi. Where have you been? But secondly as well, not everything is a black and white heads butting this is a problem thing. You can understand why something has happened, but also not quite understand what they're trying to do with it. Like, you can sign a really, really good player and also think you may not necessarily be the best of things. One of my biggest criticisms of Swindon right at the beginning of the year was they signed Ryan Wells and they signed Ed Bradley, and I said, those guys look far too similar. What's happening there? It doesn't detract from the fact that Ed Bradley is really good and Ryan Wells is clearly really, really good. But also as well, it's like, I don't get it. I get why you've signed a really good player. Does it fit? What are we doing from there? And that's the kind of thing I think sometimes that people, social media, I think, confuses me slightly, is because the struggle with social media isn't the discussive part. It's the lack of nuance. It's the lack of ability to be nuanced, right? If you don't follow the BOTW social media, head down to the description, hit subscribe on the way past, and then do all that bit. But yeah, I like to have the discussion part with people. Disagreement is not disaster. It's a thing I say a lot, but it's genuinely true. We're talking about a kids' game that we all watch for fun. It's all good. Chill. Not everything is 100% positive or 100% negative. I know it feels that way sometimes, but it's not. So just chill. MK, don't get why you signed another forward unless some guy's really going to be hurt and injured right out for a long time. Maybe you could have explained why you did it. That's their prerogative. Either way, a few bits and pieces, of course, do continue rolling along. Not tons and tons of movement. I was having a chat. I was chatting to Joe Scutts about this relatively recently, and obviously, sort of the locking up of contracts. Of course, we saw last year, and release fees and the like being needed to be paid. Maybe that's what's caused some of the lack of player movements that we've seen in previous times, as guys' contracts are a little bit more legally sound, shall we say, on that front. But, of course, there's been some other good news. Of course, Ice Hockey UK have released their list of officials that have been assigned international bits and pieces, both senior men's, senior women's and junior levels. Congratulations to them. Particularly Holly Neenan, of course, who copped some stick from a Nottingham Panthers sponsor for one reason or another. So, yeah. Humble pie for that dude. Either way. Oh, the other thing as well before we get on, because I know he's watching. If you haven't seen him before, because you didn't see him last week, fantastic 3D printed signs from 3D Lee. Go check out his site. Links in the description of the YouTube video as well. Either way, let us chat about the National Division, everybody, because plenty of interesting stuff as I was stood atop my little commentary position. I can only imagine what some of the Guildford Flames streaming crew make of me sitting there with like both games. I have if they could see my laptop for what I have open, because I'll have the game open on the Elite League website. I'll then have the Elite League Game Center open and the NIHL Game Center, and I'm constantly. Ooh, that went a bit funny. That did go funny. There we go. How very strange. Died off for a minute. Came back. How very odd. There we go. Seems to be back in business now. Either way, Sheffield Steel Dogs, Swindon Wildcats. Swindon blowing another. Swindon were close and they're about, but they've let another late goal has beaten them. Arenell putting them a goal up. Even Björklund Nordstrom equalises. Penalty shot from Elmeri Halfers, who I don't know what to make of Elmeri Halfers. Sheffield fans, help me out. Do you like him or not? Tyler Plough then scoring a really, really pretty goal. And then a goal 9 seconds from time wins Sheffield the game. And I've watched the video of that goal. And if I'm Swindon, I'm cross with myself. I don't think Rennie Miles well positioned. Ed Bradley stands off of a guy. And ultimately Sheffield, who like we say have been a bit... Obviously they can't help the table. But they felt a bit wonky. And I just can't quite put my finger on Sheffield. But this is that transition from the old era to the new, isn't it? The Sheffield Steel Dogs now have a different mentality about what they're trying to do. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a different thing. And we will sit back, we will watch, and we will enjoy what they've done. And then this one went all the way to the shootout. But the David Thompson, Eric Henderson error in Telford rumbles along. Solway do get a point out of it, of course, and were again, of course, ahead and late. Another late goal for Telford, going in and out like a bad mobile call. Very, very strange. Yeah, it was. It says everything's okay now though, which is interesting from my side. Either way, Solway were 4-3 up. A late goal from Vladimir Maluka ties it. Eventually goes all the way to the shootout. David Thompson ends up with the game winner in the shootout there. Another goal for these two. I can only imagine the ridiculousness of their stats, all things considered. It looks and sounds pretty crazy. And then it was the battle at the bottom. Oh, that's encoded too quick. Battle at the bottom between Bristol and the Bees. This one, when I was trying to keep tabs on it, looked like it was a lot of fun. And it was pretty... Sound not working. Oh, no. How very, very strange. Working on the PC now, I fired it up. Interesting. TVs don't like me, apparently. It says everything's working here now. But yeah, so Bristol and the Bees, a big win for Bristol this one as well. Just because Bristol seemed to have woken up. They were awful, genuinely awful at the start of the year. And they've now found a way to kind of pull it all together. And it's not perfect, and it's very scrappy, and it's very messy. But it does seem to work. And they've gotten a win out of it as well, and a big win at the bottom of the table. Because if you want to push for that 8th spot, you've got to... Fine, you've got to wait, mate. You've got to get those wins against the teams around you. 2 goals for Tanner Butler, a goal for Mason Lipsey, and a goal for Nick Price. Price with the game winner. He has been a very, very underrated quality signing for Bristol. Josh Paul, the first ever National League goal from a member of the Cardiff Canucks, and it's also a very, very pretty goal as well, it should be said, from Josh Paul for his first goal at NIHL national level. Liam Morris and Vanya Antonov with the other goals there for the Bees. And then there was this one. Romford, what are you doing to us? 5-0 up, and look at the final score. I mean, talk about nearly blowing it. What a crazy, crazy game this was as well. Of course, no Miller. No Miller from my understanding as well. No Adam Laysham, so rolling with 2 imports. Jake Sylvester, Tyler Nixon. Really pleased Tyler Nixon's got a goal. I have a lot of respect for Tyler Nixon. That young man has always put a shift in everywhere he's gone. 2 goals for Andrew Schufelt. And what ended up being the game winner from Joe Tomlin at 26-13. Cam Huff, Jarvis Hunt, Duncan Spears and Tom Norton with a very, very late goal. 19 seconds from time to make things really, really nervy. But ultimately the Phantoms, again, losing a game... They're losing a game that they probably will have thought they should be winning. Sound is good for me, walking through a foggy park with a lack of signal. I don't know what to tell everybody else then in that sense, John. Sounds like something's might have gone skew with your TV there, but thanks for making me check if nothing else. Keeps me on my toes. And then the other big one from Saturday night, the main event as it were, and the MK Lightning, when it mattered, found a way to win. Yes, it was at home, and yes, this is kind of the flip reverse of getting walloped by the Knights up in Leeds, but a big statement from the MK Lightning as well, where Leeds wobbled more than they have done in the last couple of years, and the Lightning now are starting to push on, and even then, the fans don't feel particularly satisfied, which is what I find very, very interesting. The Knights goals coming from Matt Hayward and a power play goal from Matt Barron. For the Lightning, Ross Venus, Callum Field, 2 goals from Corey McEwen, Max Stewart, and a late goal from Malik Martelli, doing the business there for Tim Wallace's side. That takes us then into Sunday. Lots of goals in MK, and in this game, 3. Kel Beattie, the man of the hour, an early power play goal from Zach Yokoyama inside 3 minutes, giving the Raiders the lead at the Sapphire, but then just under 10 minutes from time for 1 goal for Beattie, and then score it, and then Beattie gets the game winner from Gardiner and Dunbar with 9 seconds left in the overtime period. A big, horrible journey for the Sharks on a Sunday evening, but they do come away from it with the points. Leeds, well, they got back to winning ways and give Peterborough a 0-point weekend. One where the Knights, you'd expect a response from them, having lost games, but it's Noah McMullin and 2 goals from Finn Braden, who of course is turning into, as everybody knew he would be, a very, very promising young player who should hopefully press on and do more. Duncan Spears with the lone goal for the Peterborough Phantoms in this one. And then there's Hull, who I believe have one, off the top of my head, have 1 point in their last 10 and don't seem to be able to just get anything going. Of course, they made the cup final last year, have missed the semi-finals of the cup in 24-25, and despite a pretty decent comeback in this one, Swindon were 2-0 to the good through Luke Johnson and Ed Bradley before James Spur and Owen Sobchak pulled it back to level pegging, and then Hull just seemed to lose their head. A bit of an altercation, penalty for Jason Hewitt, and then a second goal from Bradley, and then goals from Balint Pokodzi and Jake Bricknell give the Wildcats a 5-2 win. A nice way to end their trip up to Yorkshire, especially after a frustrating loss the night before against the Steel Dogs. The Dogs themselves, well, it's a 4-point win for Ben Morgan's side. They travelled down to Telford, and Henderson and Thompson can't do everything, apparently, although they did get on the score sheet, of course. David Thompson from Henderson solving that issue, and the other goal for the Tigers coming from, a former Basingstoke connection, Adam Harding, off the feed from Edgars Landsberg, just 65 seconds in. But it's goals from Ivan Björkley-Nordstrom. He got 2 on the night, as well as goals on the power play for Jonathan Phillips, and a late goal from Sam Tremblay, who keeps rocking along. He's going to be in the discussion for Player of the Year of this division quite comfortably by the end. But a big 4-point weekend for the Dogs, which of course they'll be very happy with. And then the last game, one that seems to cause a little bit of consternation, and if you haven't watched the highlights, do go and watch them. The bloody-minded Bees are in full effect, it seems, at the moment, having beaten Swindon and now having come back from 3-1 down to drag MK all the way to the shootout. It should be said, speaking of shootouts, go and find the highlights of this one and watch this Jordan County penalty shot. What a technique. Absolutely love that kind of thing. But ultimately, Dylan Lawrence is the only man to score in the shootout, meaning the Lightning do keep the extra point. 2 goals from Vanya Antonov and that game-tying goal late on from Will Stead for the Bees. Max Stewart, Martin Susters, as we mentioned, Jordan County with the regulation goals for the Lightning. So I'll have a quick look then at the National Division table, and as we can see, the two big heavy hitters level on games. But it's the MK Lightning who are top of the pile at the moment, 32 points from 21 games. Leeds 31 from 21. So everybody still very, very much clumped together and doing the business. And as you can see, certainly that top 7, 10 points separates first from 7th. Not everyone a million miles away from each other. Sheffield have played a game more than the top 2. They are in 3rd place with 28 points. Romford have 2 games in hand on Sheffield and are only 2 points behind. Romford still lurking there or thereabouts. Swindon have pulled themselves up to 5th place. Peterborough's 0-point weekend not helping there. The Cats also have only played 20 games. They got 2 games in hand over Sheffield, and a game in hand over the Lightning and the Knights. Peterborough then, as we said, they're in 6th place. They have 24 points. Hull, with their poor recent form, are down in 7th. They're on 22. With Telford in that last playoff spot, 23 games still. 3 games more played than Solway at the moment, and the Sharks just that point behind, and being able to nick things like overtime wins away at teams like Romford. The Sharks are gunning for that playoff spot. Bristol then, despite their win, they are still down in 10th, and the Bees are bottom of the pile despite clawing that point away from the MK Lightning. Not bad though, in 2 games against Leeds and MK at home, getting 3 out of 4 points in those encounters. Not terrible, but 13 from 22 sees the Bees bottom of the pile. We'll then have a look at the fixtures, and of course a big thank you to Max van Mullen for the graphics as ever. More on him later because he had a very productive weekend. But we look to Saturday the 30th of November in the NIHL National Division, and another interesting game. Will the Sheffield Steel Dogs be the next to fall foul of the bloody-minded Bees in Slough? Berkshire, Sheffield at the Hangar should be a fun one to go and see. Bristol take on Hull, Leeds versus Telford, MK versus Solway, and the Swindon Wildcats have their Rock the Rink night against the Romford Raiders. And then on Sunday, the 1st of December, a long trip for the Bees. They go up to the world's most versatile arena to take on the Hull Seahawks. Peterborough take on Sheffield. Romford take on Bristol. Solway host MK. And then it's the Battle of the Cats. Telford versus Swindon in Shropshire on Sunday night. There we go. Not sure. So all of you who seem to be having sound issues everything appears to work, which will take, apparently. There definitely was a chunk in my end where all of my connection died. Everything disconnected and came back on. So not sure what happened there, but I'm going to blame the weather. Let's blame the weather. It's easier on that front. But yes, questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything else on the National Division there? Hull's poor run of form looks really bad. Are the MK Lightning finally turning that corner? Because what's that big criticism that I've had of MK the last couple of years been? They don't have that relentless streak to put teams away. And that third period against Leeds, is this MK finally learning that lesson that they need to be able to just put their foot down for 60 minutes and push other teams away? Leeds are good. Everybody knows Leeds are good. We've watched the last couple of years of them. If somebody's going to beat them, they kind of need to slightly beat them at their own game, and that is just about never, ever stopping. It's that level of consistency that makes champions. Ultimately, could somebody else claw themselves into the fight? If Sheffield get themselves on a pretty good run, they could do things as well. We know that apparently there's net mining injuries, so everybody wants to tell me, but there's a lot to be done, and a lot of good that could come out of it if we do get Sheffield, Romford, Swindon are not a bad side either. They just need to get that bit of consistency in there. Hull could quite easily go on a run. They've got tons of talented guys in there, but where are they going? Who can really keep up with Leeds and MK is the big thing. And then of course we got the cup semi-finals coming up before too long. Just had a bit of a message. Now that's interesting. So I've just had a message from, it's the Macca's Talk hockey account. I assume that they are in Cardiff in that one, because I've just said goalie is at a terrible period. 2 of them we should be saving comfortably. We'll just send them a message back, just double checking that they are in Cardiff and they're not anywhere else. Let's just double check. Who else is sending bits and pieces? Tom Graham. Tom Graham's allowed to message me because we were talking about his and Joe's commentary performance for the Bees against MK on Sunday. But yeah, what are we thinking? Because I know 4,000 accounting. I know Nikki stuck out some bits and pieces. Who's going to win the title? Now, you know me. I don't get into those kind of discussions because it's November and that's crazy. It's like the people who've got Christmas trees up already. Advent's on the calendar. But certainly, where are we in terms of surprise? Because for me, there's no bigger surprise package almost in British hockey right now than for all the talk of Coventry in the Elite League. Romford Raiders are the big surprise package of British hockey this year when you consider what's happened. I think it's very, very easy to look at that top level and go, oh, everybody said Coventry were going to finish 10th, and they're doing very well at the moment. I genuinely think Romford is a bigger surprise package in what they've been able to do so far this season. Biggest disappointment so far, I think Telford probably were until they changed their imports. Hull at the moment are quite disappointing for the very, very simple fact they just do not seem to be able to string a couple of passes together, let alone win games. Clawing themselves back into that game against Swindon to ultimately lose their heads and not get the performance out of it as well. I blame Matty Davis getting his knee surgery because since he's been unable to wait there properly on his leg, they've not been as good. That's what I'm going to say to that one. Solway feel like they're sort of picking up. Solway doing what Solway do, which is just keeping their heads down, working away, picking off bits and pieces. I'm backing Romford for the cup. I really want Romford to win the cup. I won't lie, because I think it would shake up a lot of stuff, and I think it will make playoffs that much more interesting. I think it will really shock. I think it will give Swindon a jolt. I think it will give Hull a jolt. I think it will give Peterborough a jolt. Although, let's face it, we kind of know that Slafford's pointing towards the playoffs already. But I think Romford, if they can find a way to get past MK, which they can, there is 100% a way to do that. Adam Leishram, I think, is a much more savvy coach than I think people are giving him credit for. But if Romford could do it, I think it's just a nice jolt for the division. And I'm not saying it's like, we're not into sort of Leicester winning the league title 5,000 to 1 jobs, but I like the idea. Everybody talks about how competitive the league is and how anybody can beat anybody on any given night. Well, the league kind of needs that for somebody to win those kind of other trophies. Like Peterborough finishing 6th and winning the playoffs. As much as I dislike Peterborough stylistically to watch, having different teams win things is good. When Leeds and MK had won the other trophies this year, not a bad thing. But it would be nice to get a new name. Peterborough winning the playoffs or winning a cup, not a big surprise. They're very much hardwired for it. MK, the biggest budget in the league, winning things, not a surprise. Leeds, who are this gargantuan wagon and have been for the last couple of years, winning things, not a surprise. Having a Romford win, or Telford, so you can at least have that story about coming back to prominence, them winning would be great. We're not going to see, with the format that we have, it makes it astronomically hard for a Solway, for a Bristol to win the cup. And there is that discussion we could have about having cup groups instead of cup groups and doing the cup format, so you get a group style kind of listing in the same way that Division 1 and Division 2 do. I'm not saying do what the Elite League do. The Challenge Cup format is utterly bonkers. But if they're wanting to kind of change that up and freshen that up, do you do it that way instead? You have 10 games and maybe split the league 6 and 5 and have it work that way. There's ways to do it. Although it would be easier if we can get the Bison back, because then you can have two groups of 6, first home and first away against those teams in your group. Cup table, beautiful. Get all of those games played nice and early. Job done. And then roll for the same thing they're trying now, which is cup semi-finals and cup semi-finals before the end of December, cup final in January or February, and do it that way. So there's ways to tweak it, make it better, and work it out that way. But it would be great. I think it would be great for the league for Romford to win the cup, and also it'd be fantastic for everybody down there in and everybody down in Romford if they're able to do it. Just having a look. Just had a message for because Cardiff now 5-0 up apparently. So the message somebody has sent me is Sheffield looking for their 7th goalie soon. The jokes are writing themselves at this point. I wonder actually at some stage whether Curtis Warburton is on the bench tonight for Sheffield. Let's just have a quick check and just double check what we're looking at here. Well, it is indeed 5-0 at 24-28 for the Devils. I mean, this is the problematic thing of having to throw a brand new goalie in. Just pulling out that list actually very quickly from of Ice Hockey UK. So just to run down that list as well of the officials who've got international selections. Danny Beresford, Amy Campbell, Charlotte Cramp, Andy Dalton, Dave Good, Ryan Fraley, Claire Howie, Ilya Kissel. Ilya Kissel I've seen line in the Elite League. He's very good. Philippa McKinnon, Felicity Munro, who I've seen a couple of times this year. I like her a lot. Holly Neenan and Amy Pryor. Congratulations to all of them. So what we'll do very, very quickly then... So just quickly respond to that message. And then what we will do, just as time is rolling on, and like I say, I've got to get off a little bit earlier than I usually do, because I've got to be done. I've got to join a call for something I'm doing at 9:30 tonight, which is unusual for me. So what we will do though, if I hit that button there, Shazam! Back to North 1. Actually, I'll tell you what we'll do. North 1's on the screen. Which league do you want to start with? I always start with North 1. Where do we want to start? Do we want North 1? Do we want South 1? Do we want North 2? Do we want South 2? You've got a minute while I have some water. Stick in the chat what you'd like. Which league should we start with this time? Because there's been a lot of stuff happen across Division 1 and Division 2. Plenty of stories to talk about, all things considered. So where do you want us to start? Let's stick a thought in the chat. And let's and we'll start there, because like I say, I always start in North 1. Let's do it a slightly different way. What are people saying? The two people happy with North 1, keep it ordered. Why did I have a feeling that you were going to say that? Oh, everyone's saying North 1s, we're going to do it that way. We'll do it North 1. Fine, you lot. If that's what you want, we'll do it the regular way then. South 2 just to be different. John, you've been outvoted. I'm sorry. Either way then, Saturday in North 1, and a pretty close one up on the big pad at the NIC, but the Whitley Warriors come back from a 4-3 deficit with just under 13 minutes to go to get the win. That winner coming from Kyle Ross at 57-10 as the Lions chuck one away, a 9th win of the season for Whitley. 2 goals from Kyle Ross, 2 from Phil Edgar, and 1 from Callum Queen. And the goals from the Lions coming from Alish Padlek, 2 from Alish Padlek, 1 from Tyler Somerton, and 1 from Matt Bell in what would be a 2-game weekend for the Lions. Hull, another loss at home for Hull. Maybe their magic powers are waning, but they go down by 5-1 at home against the Solihull Barons. The Jets 1-0 to the good, but then 5 unanswered goals starting in the second period from the Barons. 2 from Dan Mulcahy, 2 from Nicholas Otterson, 1 from Sam Chandler, getting the win for the side from Hobbsmoat Road. Scott Morris with the lone goal for the Jets. Not a massive amount of shots in this one. Zach Brown letting up 5 on 31. He's not going to appreciate these numbers. And then Leeds and D-side decided that they wanted to play a game of American football rather than play a game of ice hockey, because look at that score. That is ridiculous. Going to do that in a mo, Graham. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about that. I haven't forgotten about that at all. But yes, America. Why? Why defend? Why defend when you could not defend? I think would be the thing we'd say there. Jake Witkowski still over a goal a game. D-side of now at this point had played 15 games. Witkowski has 17 goals, despite having joined later in the season. We will, however, skip down just so we can look at the lists and do it that way. A 4-goal night for Jake Witkowski, a hat-trick for Alex Parry, 2 goals for Matt Wainwright, and then goals from Jakob Hayek, James Shaw, Michael Clancy, Charles Phillips and Jared Dickinson. For the Knights, a hat-trick for Owen Dell, and then goals from Dylan Harcourt, Tom Dermott, Michael Deneco and Declan Keim. We'll go with Keim. But yes, poor Dan Norton letting up 10 goals on 42 shots. James Anderson then letting up 4 on 18. Ollie Booth gets the full night for the Dragons. They just got to leave him in. Why? What is going on there? Utter madness. And then from the Sublime from the Dragons, well, I won't say they're ridiculous, because let's face it, What a cracking result for the Widnes Wild. Their first regulation win of 24-25. Bailey Thompson getting the game-winning goal at 55-23. Jamie Thompson, Solway Sharks assistant coach and the head of Scottish Ice Hockey, put the video up of Bailey's goal. What a finish from that young man. Very, very impressive. From that one, but yeah, a head scratcher for the Dragons as to what's happened there against a Widnes side with 13 losses on the season already. As we said, Bailey Thompson with 1 goal, then goals for Ross Chalmers, Robbie Thompson, Andrew Hopkins, and Michael Gilbert. The goals for the Dragons coming from Jared Dickinson, Jake Witkowski, and Cade King. Harry Campbell pulling off a 35 save performance to get the win in that one. And then Whitley, well, they did really well to come back against the Nottingham Lions, but then they lose at home to the Leeds Knights. What a result for them, including a natural hat-trick in the third period from Michael Dineko, which included a short-handed goal. Dineko getting 4 goals out of the 6 on the night. Fritz Heinzler getting the other 2 for the Knights. Goals for Whitley in this one coming from Jamie Ord, Phil Edgar, and Jay Lucas. And Knights as well, picked up some penalties later on in this game, but what a performance from them. Harrison Walker with a 54 save performance for them, for the Knights, in getting a big crucial away win as they look to keep pushing towards a playoff spot in their first season of existence. Hull got back to winning ways. They gave Sheffield a bit of a walloping around. The Scimitars, of course, have already beaten the Jets this season, but no mercy from the Jets this time around at Ice Sheffield. Sheffield's goal coming in the lone goal coming in the second period from Miles Keogh. Goals then for the Jets coming from Adam Jaseko, Nathan Parks, Britton, Jaseko there with 2, Kent, Alex Kent, Richard Hagar, and who else we got there? Kieran Beach, the 2 for Alex Kent in that one. Hull's form's gone a little bit wonky, hasn't it, over the last couple of weeks, where we've got themselves in that position where they are, winning games they probably should win, but also losing games they probably wouldn't to. And here we'll talk about the fact. Because as a former Blackburn Hawks team manager, I know he's been involved with lots of bits and pieces, but I only have water because I got work in the morning. But if we all may, just for a moment, just because I was going to raise that, virtual glass, real glass bottle. For people who aren't familiar, he was a former Blackburn Hawks manager and also did a bunch of stuff for a bunch of different things in the hockey community across the northeast. We lost Pete Sheffield late last week, and Pete was a member of the team at Drop the Puck. And for people unfamiliar with Drop the Puck, they've done the Coventry streaming for the last couple of years. They've also done streams at stuff at Blackburn. They've done D-Side. They've done Widnes. They did the sort of the North One highlight show for a little while, and Pete was really heavily involved in that. And the work that they did, not just for hockey, but in other sort of American sports up in the northwest of England. And unfortunately, Pete had an accident at work. He ended up in hospital and just didn't recover from it, which is, terribly sad. The Drop the Puck boys are all Northerners, and as the token Southerner to kind of be able to kind of step in and do some bits and pieces with them was a massive honour. And Pete was just always wanting everything to be better, wanting everything to be as good as it can be. Really looked after me when, I'm a big mouth, but even I get nerves, and I've talked about the nerves that I get at times as well, and just wanted to kind of make sure that I was all right, everybody was all right, make sure I got a cup of tea when I need a cup of tea and things like that. And I don't think we celebrate people just being nice people enough, and we have lost a really, really nice person with Pete's passing. My thoughts go out to his wife Sue, to his boys, to my friends at Drop the Puck, so Ben and Gary and George and the rest of the crew. And what I'd say is, Pete, I hope wherever you're watching, you're enjoying your hockey where you can find it. And just, keep an eye on the feed, make sure the connection doesn't drop out. Maybe it dropping out was his way of playing a trick on us all later this evening. But yeah, so to Pete, wherever you're watching us, mate. And as a Blackburn man, he will have been very, very happy with this result as the Hawks give Billingham a bit of a lesson. Blackburn 3-0 up in this one before Billingham came roaring back, ending up with as well a 33rd goal of the season for Ian Brown in this one. But ultimately, Blackburn in the third period just have a little bit more in the tank, and they pull themselves away a big, big win and a second loss of the season for the Stars. The goals in this one for the visitors, as we said, Ian Brown as well as James Moss and James Helens. Goals for the Hawks, 2 from Darragh Spafforth, 2 for Jacob Lutwich, as well as goals for Adam Barnes, Josh Crawley and James Riddock. 27 save performance from Ollie Thomason to get the win in this one. So big win for him. We know how much they love their Ben Keddy at Blackburn. 7 goals on 45 shots for Jacob Hammond in net for the Stars. Elsewhere on Sunday, a bit of a strange one, this one, and one that I do wonder whether we'll see some disciplinary action out of, because there was certainly a pretty nasty incident in this one where a guy took an off-the-puck run and elbowed somebody in the head. You can see it very clearly on the video if you watch it back, but it's a win all the same for the Solihull Barons. A 6-point weekend for them as they beat the Nottingham Lions by 7 goals to 3 at the small rink at the NIC. A hat-trick in this one from Matt Maurice, who scored some very pretty goals. The other goals for the Barons coming from Bailey Challens, Charlie Webb, and because it's a day ending in a Y, Nicholas Otterson. 2 goals for Alish Padalek and 1 for James Mather. With the goals in this one for the Lions. A game that saw Lucas Sheldon not only concede 7 goals and 42 shots, but he backed up the Panthers, ran across the building in his kit, changed his shirt, and then played 60 minutes for the Lions. So pretty impressive stuff, all things considered. Ben Lee gets the win in net for the Barons. In terms of fixtures next weekend, just the one game in North 1 this upcoming Saturday. 5:30pm face-off at the World's Most Versatile Arena, and the Hull Jets and the Nottingham Lions will do the honours there. A much fuller docket, 5 games on Sunday. 5pm over in North Wales for the Deeside Dragons and the Sheffield Scimitars, as the Dragons look to rebound from their poor loss to Widnes last weekend. Billingham will look to get back to winning ways, but can they do it against a team that's already beaten them this season? They take on the Solihull Barons at 5:30 at the Forum. Also at 5:30 at the Castle. Leeds, off the back of their very impressive win away at Whitley, can they cause a slight banana skin for the Blackburn Hawks? And Widnes, can they get a 2-game winning streak going? Over on Merseyside, they take on Whitley. That's also a 5:30 face-off. The Nottingham Lions will then do the favour for the Hull Jets. That, of course, will be live on the Nottingham Lions YouTube channel. That is a 7:20pm face-off at the small rink, at the CCM rink at the NIC. We'll head then into South 1. And, well, Solent and Slough have battled a few times already this year. And the last time these two teams played at the Hangar, Solent got walloped 7-0. An improvement at least, but still a pretty comprehensive win for the Slough Jets. A 4-0 victory for Lucas Smittle's side. Brandon Miles, Ollie Hemmings-Mayer, and 2 goals from Jack Goodchild doing the business for the business for the Jets. No goals on any of the power plays. Solent getting 7 power plays in this game and not converting a single one, which I think tells you something that you need to know about the penalty killing unit for the Jets in this one. Matt Smittle with a 20-shot shutout. And also another shutout that night and another 4-0 win further down the M4. Ben Clark Leach doing the business for the Swindon Wildcats as they win the derby. Oxford won the reverse of this fixture recently at the Oxpens, of course. BOTW was there for that one, presented man of the match in it as well. But Swindon turn it around in their double home weekend with the first team up in Yorkshire, the Wildcats. NHL 1 roster got the opportunity to start at the Link Centre, and they did not disappoint. Charlie Turner, Oscar Sagan, Ben Nethersell and Ollie Stone with the goals there. Ben Clark Leach with a 24-shot shutout to start the weekend. Ross Miller back in net for the City Stars. Of course, now Morgan Parsons banned for 2 games following his fighting major last weekend. For 31 saves on 35, still not a terrible result, but ultimately another shutout defeat on the season for the Stars. And then on Saturday, it was a big penalty shot win for the Romford Buccaneers. They nearly gave Cardiff their 3rd win of the season, but ultimately the Fire do get to keep a point, but the Buccaneers head all the way back down the M4 with the extra points. So a 2-point weekend for them, their 2nd win in overtime or extras this season. Luca Pasquale and Harry Wright with the goals for the Buccaneers. Chris Fox and Christians Kasyanovs with the goals in regulation for the Cardiff Fire. Phil Maguire with ultimately the winning penalty shot. Some pretty impressive goalkeeping as well in this one from Ben Scanlon and Max Van Mullen, combining there for, he says, quickly doing the maths in his head, 80 saves between the two of them. Not bad at all. But yes, 41 saves from Van Mullen, 35 for Scanlon, not terrible at all. And on Saturday, well, Invicta decided that if Chelmsford could do it, so could they. 16-2 they win over the MK Thunder. Alistair Burrow and Cole McCluskey with the goals for the Thunder in this one. We'll scroll down so you can just do the maths very quickly there. A 9-point night for Aaron Connolly as he goes 5 + 4. 7 points on the night for Tom Saw as he goes 2 + 5. A hat-trick for Cam Pywell and other goals in this one for Louis Colvin, Michael Stokes, Vilius Krakauskas, Mads Toon, James Laming and Ruskin Springer Hughes. A big night for Nikolai Dival, the young netminder for Invicta, who stepped into that backup slot following the departure of Owen Ryder. If I'm correct, this was his first start and also his first win. Cam Frayne starting the game for the Thunder. He concedes 12 on 58. Kieran Hickman concedes 4 on 13 in response. On Sunday then, and the big derby, and well, Invicta, they got their goal scoring eggs out of them the night before as they are handily taken down 8-2 by the Chelmsford Chieftains at the Riverside. There just seems to be that golfing class between the two. Invicta's 9th regulation defeat of the season already. They're currently below 500 at the moment. James Laming and Tom Saw with the goals for the Dynamos. For the Chieftains, a hat-trick for Grant Bartlett. 2 goal nights for Cam Bartlett and Alan Lack, and Mikey Power adding to his already pretty impressive goal total for the season. As we drop down there, Brad Windybank with 8 goals and 45 shots. Jordan Lauday with a 38 save performance. Oxford then, having lost in Swindon the night before and having lost to MK, having given MK their lone win of the campaign so far, Oxford, well, they turn it back around. In fact, racing out to a 4-0 lead by the end of the second period in this one. MK drew things back to make it interesting by the end of it, but a late empty net goal from Felix Hemmings-Mayer, the brother of Ollie at Slough, to do the business there. James Bryan and Alistair Barrow with the goals for the Thunder. Jake Williams, Joe Covey with 2, and a goal from Mario Chiru, the other ones for the City Stars. In this one, a 26 save performance from Ross Miller, but also a pretty impressive one from Caleb Sheehan in there for the Thunder, a 43 save performance there as the Thunder kept the Stars within striking distance, but ultimately it's the 17th loss of the season. And then back-to-back shutout wins for Ben Clark Leach. The Buccaneers thoroughly put to the sword after their pretty tiring night against Cardiff the night before. And also from what we understand this weekend as well, goals. We had Jan Kostel Senior and Jan Kostel Junior both playing both nights for the Wildcats, and it is they who do the business. And we see here George Howe giving a misconduct right at the very end because. Boy is special. Goals for Ollie Stone, Luca Kirk-Brown, Jan Kostel Senior and Ben Nethersell in this one. Jan Kostel Junior held definitely. He's listed as having got an assist somewhere on that one, but a pretty productive night for Senior all the same. And then, yes, Ben Clark Leach, a 35 shot out in this one. Pretty impressive performance for him. Max Van Mullen conceding the 5 goals in this one, but some pretty good, impressive young netminding from both young goalies in that game. Now we're just going to check a message because Chris Beale, and if you aren't familiar with Chris Beale, aka 2-4 Flinching on the various social media bits and pieces, does a lot of stuff for Streatham. He's been putting together the highlights of this game. They should be online. If they're not online now, they will be online very, very shortly. In fact, I think they are online. They should be coming online very, very shortly. But definitely do go check them out because a huge, huge game, war on the high road between the Streatham Redhawks and the Slough Jets. Now, last year, I was at the South One Cup final, second leg between these two sides, and it was probably the best game of hockey I watched all season. And I watched 4 divisions worth of hockey last year. These two sides put on an absolute classic, a goalless first period before Slough being 1-0 up at the end of the second period. Jack Goodchild with the power play goal there, and with just over 10 minutes to go, Jacob Soper making it 2-0, and the question started to arise, I think, in all of us. Was this the Jets' time? Had they finally turned the screw and could make their way past Streatham? The champs are champs for a reason. Roman Cathcart, Jordan Gregory, a penalty shot from Jared Lane, and Luke Brittle's 22nd goal in 13 games turns it around. Streatham 4, Slough 2. Make sure you go check out those highlights on the YouTube channel when they come out. Costa Jr. got assist on the first goal. Thank you. I knew there would have been something on there. Ben Clark-Leach, what a player. Having seen all 2 games this season, he's impressed me most, and he's improved greatly since the South 2 days, and even then he wasn't a bad netty. Not at all. He's really, really come on. I think they probably would have liked him to have a bit more of a rest, though. Either way, Streatham and Slough, a massive, massive game, and one that I saw Paul Newman, who runs Scoro, which is the famous sort of shooting from the halfway line, said it is the best game of hockey he has seen at the new rink in Streatham. That is a pretty high bar when you consider some of the hockey that Streatham have played over this year. A 23 save performance from Brett Shepherd. And I think that tells you something there about the quality of the defence, the lack of shots that Shepherd's ended up facing. 4 goals on 36 for Nate Gregory in his return to the high road. But ultimately, it's another big win for Streatham. This coming Saturday, then, the Jets will have a chance to rebound. They come down to the south coast and close to where I live. They take on the Solent Devils at 5 o'clock. Romford take on Streatham at 5:15 over at the Sapphire. That could be an interesting one. And then down in Cardiff Bay, it's the long trip across the country for the Chelmsford Chieftains to take on the Cardiff Fire. Sunday, 5:45 at the Hangar between the Slough Jets and the Oxford City Stars. A 6 p.m. face-off at the Riverside in another local derby for the Chelmsford Chieftains. They have the Romford Buccaneers. 6:30 at the Link Centre for the Swindon Wildcats and the Cardiff Fire in their local derby across the water. And 6:45 p.m. at the Thunderdome. Can the Thunder shock British hockey? I think would be the only way to describe it if they beat Streatham. But a 2-game weekend for the Red Hawks. It'll be interesting to see what they can pull out of that one. We didn't look at the North 1 table, although albeit Billingham are still top of it. We will just, as you see there though, Slough do go top by virtue of their win over Solent, but as we can see there, just the lone loss from the Red Hawks. They are 3 points behind the Jets with 2 games in hand. Into North 2, because we start off again with a cricket score, and you have to feel for the D-side Ducks at this stage because they are just absolutely, I mean, ducks like water, but there's leaking, and this is just getting silly now. 17-2 they lose in the Sky Dome against the Coventry Blaze. A night for the Blaze to pad their numbers. Not had the start to this season that they did last time out. Luke Wainwright and Charlie Spridgeon with the goals for the Ducks. For the Blaze, everybody getting in on the act. A 4-goal night and an 8-point night for Connor Mellett. A 5-point night, 2+3 for Kyle Nash. Got 2-goal nights from Tom Brooks-Smith, Connor Wielden and Ethan Wielden, and lone goals from Ollie Harris, Arthur Brooks and Sam Prosser. No points on the night for GB women's superstar Jodie Alderson-Smith, though she did appear in this game. And all the goalies got the opportunity. The Blaze just getting off a ridiculous amount of shots. D-side managing just 20 through the 3 periods of play. The Billingham Buccaneers then with a pretty handy win over the Nottingham Lions too. They're a pretty good performance for the Lions too. They do seem to fluctuate, and as we know, the Lions with only the 1 win on the season. This is their 13th loss of the campaign. Jake Fisher and Ethan Wilcox with the goals for the Lions. Sam Geldart, Jamie Patterson, Sam Dowd and Josh Nertney with the goals for the Bucks. They got themselves 4-2 up with 10 minutes to play and then managed the game beyond the reach of the Lions. So both netminders did get some ice for the visitors in this one. Bradford, well, they got absolutely smacked at home by the Altrincham Aces, 9-0. A pretty good win there for the Aces. They edged their way to try and get themselves back to playing 500 hockey. But yeah, just a dominance from the Manchester side throughout in this one. A hat-trick for Carl Price on the night. Billy King, Malachi Budd, Ronnie Grimes, and Elliot Hudd, Max Sullivan, and Kane Morin, son of Mike, with the other goals for the Aces. In this one, a 20-shot shutout for Bailey Hodgkinson. And then only games on Saturday in North 2 next weekend. Sunday's completely clear, but 4 games on Saturday for you to take your pick of in North 2. 12 p.m, of course, that midday face-off, the early show at the World's Most Versatile Arena for the Kingston Sharks as they take on the Nottingham Lions 2. D-side, having lost 17-2 to Coventry last weekend in the Sky Dome, are going to try and at least probably get closer, much in the same way they did after Telford battered them and then they got slightly closer the last time. What can the Ducks do? 5 p.m. over in North Wales for you to find out on Saturday. 5:30 p.m. at the Forum for the Billingham Buccaneers and the Sheffield Titans. And then the champs are back to work. As we said, it is the big discussion we've been having. Telford versus Bradford is 5:30 on Saturday. And as we see, if we hop back up for the table, it's still very much on the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. Sutton and Telford, perfect starts. They're still very much on course to for a very, very big collision later on this season when those two finally meet. Looks like they might lose Carl Ogden for a few games with that penalty. He's one of their better players. Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal on that one. Devils 5, Steelers nil, Ender 2nd. Deary me. For Swindon, the line with Kirk, Brown, Sagan and Costill Jr. is one to keep an eye on. 16, 17 years old, but treated one shift like a power play, moving the puck around. Brilliantly, bright future. And you know Ken Forshy is going to look at that. 14th of December. Thank you, Karen. Because I know the other, because we're in South 2 now, we need to talk about the fact that there is a similar thing brewing in South 2, albeit one team has dropped a point in it, but is still undefeated as it were. Let's look at the games that happened this past weekend first. And one team, like we say, we need to talk about is the Peterborough Phantoms, who have already qualified for the playoffs. Mathematically, can't finish below 8th now. Peterborough have made the playoffs. We're not at December yet, and they absolutely give the Rising Stars a kicking. It's 9-1 to Peterborough as they go 10 for 10, albeit the Rising Stars have got feel like they're a bit more competitive in that division than Oxford have been in South 1. If we skip down, because we all know the names here, Connor Pollard with a hat-trick, Nathan Pollard and Jordan Ho with 2 goals, James White and Bradley Wright with the other goal, Ed Crotty with the lone goal for the Rising Stars. Luke Clark getting some time in net here for Phantoms too. He with a 30 save game. Caleb Hall starting this one. Lets in 6 on 31 before Charlie Hadney gets some time in the third period as well. And then Bristol Pitbulls 2 remain the only team in the NIHL without a win of any description. They do get their second point of the campaign though, because Chelmsford win this one in a shootout. And you'll notice from some of the names here, Elliot Lewis with a hat-trick. Bristol got in a few ringers here from the first team. We'll scoot down, and you can see names. You can see names here as we skip through. Reece Smetham is on that list. Elliot Lewis is on that list, having played now for his 3rd team in the NIHL this season, having already played for Bristol into the bargain. Bobby Reagan on that list as well. And still Bristol can't find a way to win against a much shorter benched Chelmsford side. But yes, a win in the shootout for the Warriors. Apologies, I had to skip back up because I forgot who's got the penalty shot winner. Charlie Nicholas with the winner in the shootout. Goals for the Warriors from Hayden Metcalf, George Beckett and Ben Powell and Eden Rolfe. Goal, as we said, a hat-trick for Elliot Lewis. Jamie Newton with the other goal for the Pitbulls. Alex Cole with 4 goals on 33 shots. A pretty big performance from Luke Conley in net for the Warriors there with a 55 save performance through 65 minutes worth of play. The big game then in South 2 really at the weekend was the Phoenix and the Huskies. I commentated last season at the game towards the end of the year that effectively decided the South 2 title. I did jokingly say to Josh Sherrington from the Guildford Phoenix to not get themselves into a hole and then have to dig themselves back out of it. But Guildford instead just stepped into the hole. They were 2-0 up through Teo Sire and Scott Bailey before goals from Joe Willingham and Martin Shaz tied the game just before the half-hour mark. But in the third period, Teo Sire turned it back on, a hat-trick for the young man who's on a 2-way as well with the MK Thunder as he scores at the start and at the end of the period to get the Phoenix another maximum points win on this one. Dylan Phillips with 30 saves on the night. Jacob Studley with 34. And then Lee Valley, well, they still only got the 1 win in league play. It started off with such promise, but they end up losing at home again. It's a win and just the 3rd win of the campaign for the Solent Junior Devils. But one that I think that's probably been brewing a little bit for the Devils. They're not a terrible side at this level. They just needed to find that moment. And also as well, having their Division 1 players available to play makes a massive, massive difference for the Devils, including the fact that player coach Harry Cloutman was able to ice 2 goals for Charlie Wedge, goals as well for Ben Mills, Leo Harris, and the return to the ice of Sam Brooks, former Basingstoke Buffalo, former Basingstoke Bison, and Basingstoke Junior, out for 18 months with a shoulder injury, now back on the ice finally and immediately onto the scoreboard in his first game back for a year and a half. So congratulations to Sam on that one. The goals for the Lions coming from Matt Ganas and Raphael Clegg Vinnell. I said I was impressed with him when I saw him play the when I saw him play down in Gosport against the Cardiff Canucks. But another big amount of saves and a performance for Josh Fernandez, a 45 save night as the Junior Devils pick up the points there. Ethan Frayne with 54 saves of his own, but ultimately in a losing effort. And then they keep making a lot of noise, but it's another defeat, and quite a big one at home for the Cardiff Canucks as they get given a lesson by the Peterborough Phantoms. A massive amount of goals on the weekend again for the Phantoms. As we can see here, Nathan Pollard in 11 games has 22 goals. Not 22 points, 22 goals. So he's 22 plus 21 coming to the end of this one. Connor Pollard, we'll have to double check his numbers, but he's already on 26 assists in 11 games. We're into silly season, and ultimately the Canucks with their brand of youth, but ultimately massively inexperienced as well. Even with players like Max Babrea, you can only do so much. The lone goal coming from Josh Poole. What a big surprise on that one for the Canucks. 4-goal night for James White, Nathan Pollard, Leo Markey, Jordan Little and Nathan Long with the other goals there for the Phantoms. And a pretty productive night from Vinny Graziano, 23 saves. And good for Carl Boyden as well to get in. He gets just under 5 minutes worth of ice time. Both netminders, both Gregor and Morgan Garsay, got the opportunity to get into this game for the Canucks. 3 games, and that's it in South 2. This upcoming weekend. On Saturday at Alexandra Palace, this will be an interesting one, particularly if Luke Clark makes a return to Alexandra Palace in Peterborough's uniform. But 5:30 p.m. at Ali Pali for the Huskies and Phantoms too. The Cardiff Canucks have the long journey after a lot of home games recently. They're off down to Gillingham in Kent for their first meeting down in Kent with the Invicta Mustangs. And then the lone show, North London, Lee Valley and Bristol. Can the Pitbulls finally get off the mark and get their first win of the season as December finally rolls around? As we mentioned though, Karen did put it. I'll hop back to the thing. 14th of December for Telford versus Sutton, and it's just after. It's the 29th of December for Peterborough versus Guildford. Now Guildford, as we know, they've won 7 games in a row, but didn't drop a game because they ended up going to the shootout against Invicta. Peterborough are 11 for 11. As you can see there, Joe's already put it on. They've qualified. They are already in the playoffs. They were in the playoffs by the 24th of November. That is the utter ridiculousness of the bits and pieces that we are on here when it comes to them. Teddy Toss, Skate with Players, top of the table clash. All happening in the jungle that night. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun then, Karen, all things considered. Let's just quickly as well, I'm not going to do it on here because we know it will scupper bits and pieces. Let's get rid of that. I'm just going to quickly pull up Peterborough. Let's pull up Phantoms 2 stats on the phone just because I want to see. Where are they? Peterborough Phantoms NHL 2. Let's click some buttons, because what I want to look at, because Peterborough have been packing away goals, and then you look at that weekend as well. So we are 11 games into the league season. Nathan Pollard, 22 plus 23 for 45 points in 11 games. Connor Pollard, 11 games, 8 plus 26 for 34. James White, 10 games played, 15 plus 13 for 28. Nathan Long, from defence from Nathan Long, 10 games played, 6 plus 9 for 15. Jordan Ho, 7 games played, 5 plus 7 for 12. Dan Martin, 10 games played, 3 plus 8 for 11. Taylor Romeo has only played 5 games and has 10 points. Leo Markey has 9 from 8. The amount of guys in this roster, so let's just do that math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. 8 players over a point per game for Peterborough. 45 over 11. Well, not even my maths is that bad because that is 4 points a game that Nathan Pollard is on right now. Talk about a tear. That is mental numbers, absolutely mental. I think Sutton will qualify after their next game if I did my math right, and hopefully Telford the weekend after. Well, this is the joy of being 3 games behind them, of course, in terms of having 3 games in hand. But yeah, that's That's pretty crazy. The fact that, but yes, so Peterborough already qualified for the playoffs. But as well, this is the thing, is that top part of South 2, actually from kind of that third or fourth down, South 2's a lot closer than it was last year. At least it feels a lot closer. I think as the season kind of wears on, we might see that kind of elongate out a little bit, but remains to be seen. Either way, we've done it. Every division, every game across the NIHL has been covered, which means, of course, we open the door. Questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything you want to chuck in, and let's chat about it. So, of course, I'm going to head off a little bit earlier than I have done the last couple of weeks because I've got something I need to do tonight. We will just very quickly check in case anything else has happened, but as far as we are aware, it's still the third period. I don't know whether the third period started yet. There's Andrew, lurking and waiting in the wings. The WNIHL results from last weekend as well, from Saturday. Whitley Bay Beacons going down by 6-2 against the Queen Bees. Caitlin Stocks and Abby Colshaw for the Beacons. Isabel Bennett, a hat-trick from Catherine Gale and 2 from Ellie Wallace for the Queen Bees. Streatham Storm win by 2-1 against the Kingston Diamonds. Angela Taylor and Zuzka Dibrovolna with the goals for the Storm. Katie Payton with the lone goal for the Diamonds in that one. This upcoming weekend then, Queen Bees versus the Solihull Vixens. That's second versus first on Saturday, a 1:10 face-off at the Hangar. If you're lurking around, if you're going to Slough for hockey on Saturday, go early, go check that one out, you won't be disappointed. 6:35 on Sunday at the Guildford Spectrum for the Guildford Lightning and the Kingston Diamonds. 6:45 on the High Road for the Streatham Storm and the Whitley Bay Beacons. South 1, Firebees 2, Topcats 2. So a draw in that one. They do still have draws in women's hockey in this country. Topcats then did get some extra points on the weekend. They beat the Chelmsford Cobras by 6-2. Cardiff Comets beat the Firebees by 3-1 and a 3-0 away win for the Bristol Huskies. They defeated the MK Falcons 3-0. North 1 results then from Sunday. Sheffield Shadows 3, Solway Sharks Ladies 3, and a big win for the Kingston Diamonds North 1 side. They won away in Nottingham by a score of 8-1. And if you haven't already, we talked about it earlier, bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. Go and dig out Andrew's primer piece for the NHL fan. Check out the WNIHL. Obviously, I'm not saying that you need to drop everything. Find the opportunity. Make a point, especially as well, because Andrew, if you're an NIHL National Division fan, Andrew has put down the women's teams in your rinks as NIHL National fans, as well as mentioning all the other ones that are kind of dotted around. Go and check it out. Is it different? Yes. Is it non-checking? Yes, but non-checking 100% does not mean no contact. Do go check it out. Go see hockey from a different perspective. I've always been a really big believer in this, and I say to people, go watch hockey in different countries. Go watch hockey in different rinks. Go watch hockey in different leagues. This sport is great, and it's great in so many different ways. If you get the opportunity, go do it. I will definitely be looking for gaps to go and find some women's games to go to again, especially as well where I've got bits and pieces that I trying to fit things in around commentary that I'm doing, but massively looking forward to the opportunity to getting back to some women's hockey. I want to go see some women's hockey in Slough. I want to see the Queen Bees at home. I saw the Queen Bees alongside Andrew. Him and I were both in Guildford when the Queen Bees won the Elite League title last year. Kind of want to go see them at home. I also want to see what Andrew's DJing's like and subtly slip in a load of music that he wouldn't normally play. I'm not planning anything, Andrew. I'm not planning anything at all. Also, definitely need to go to Solent at some stage. Or at least see the Solent Amazons play, because I want to see Basingstoke hockey legend Hannah Driver, because she's still knocking around. But yes, questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything else we want to talk about? Alexander Ovechkin out for 4 to 6 weeks, so his chase for the Gretzky goal record is on hold. But ultimately, Russian machine never really breaks. He'll be back doing the business before too long. Coventry, Guildford versus Coventry this weekend for me. It's a little bit of a surreal feeling, just because I have a massive amount of connection to Coventry. Aside from the fact that as a fan of the Basingstoke Bison, I watched the Bison win the third part of their treble in Coventry. I watched the first leg of when the Bison won the EPL Cup in 2014, played the MK Lightning. The Lightning's rink was being refurbished, so we played the first leg at the Sky Dome. Some of my best friends, not just in hockey, I've met them through hockey, but some of my best friends in life live in Coventry. And so to be able to, and I've had this affinity for the Blaze. I've known Stuart Coles, who's the colour commentator on the Coventry Blaze streams. we've known each other for the better part of 2 decades now, and he's one of my best friends. Paul Shipman steps in for the Blaze bits and pieces as well when people aren't available. Shipman's one of my best friends too, and I was in Edinburgh at Murrayfield on Stu's stag do when the Coventry Blaze won the 2010 Elite League title, when they won the regular season title. And you know, so to be able to commentate on a Blaze game, no, I'm not in the Sky. And think about it as well, the Sky Dome is where commentary is where I made my commentary debut. The first game of commentary I ever did was that 2023 Division 1 national final between Solway and Streatham, right? So commentary as a place, and I have connections there and people that aren't just people I know, but people that are really, really important to me. So to be able to commentate on their club is quite, it's not weighing heavy, but I feel the responsibility to really do it well, I think is probably what I'd say. Because the Blaze are not my team. They are kind of de facto they've always been de facto my Elite League team for many years when the Bison dropped out of the Elite League, because that's where my friends were. And yeah, Guildford have given me this opportunity, and I'm massively, massively grateful to the Flames for it. But like I say, it feels, and it's nothing against Manchester, who I always seem to commentate on, and it's nothing against Glasgow or Fife or Cardiff or anybody else. But it feels very special to get the opportunity, when I sat and reflected on it, to be able to commentate on my friend's team, the team that means so much to people who mean so much to me. I'm not putting the pressure on myself because, and I don't want to sound big-headed about this, I think I've got to the point where I know I'm okay at this, right? But I want to do well. I think Saturday is going to mean a lot for me. And also I'm really, really conscious of it being the first time I'll have commentated since the passing of Pete Sheffield. And like I say, Pete and I weren't particularly close or anything like that, but Pete was there right at the beginning, and he was part of that Drop the Puck crew, and I owe them that sort of debt of gratitude for giving me that opportunity when they didn't have to. When it was all of us here, and I was sat in the kitchen here at BOTW Towers laughing about, I'd love to do this. Wouldn't it be funny if I got the opportunity to do this? Well, it was Drop the Puck that gave me the opportunity to do that, and Pete was a massive part of that. And so I kind of want to honour his memory and do well by the team that means so much to my friends. So yeah, like I say, I don't think I'm putting extra pressure on myself, but I feel the need to really smash Saturday. And then it put it to myself that actually it's just a few extra there's just a few extra pounds of weight attached to this, because actually I want to do well whenever I do this, and actually everybody does. And I'm not going to say that I like the style of every commentator, but I know how hard this is, and actually to do this in the Elite League where where it is done in a very, very different way. You know, I feel the need to kind of try and really honour what's going on around me. But that being said, there are great commentators at every level of this game across the entire country. I will die on the hill of Joe Scutts, of Chris Gadsby, of Dylan Pick, of a bunch of guys that are really, really good at what they do, and it's not at Elite League level, but these are Elite League. You know, if the Elite League is the top, well, the Elite League, there are more than 10 good commentators in Great Britain. George Perrott, when he gets, the guy who I do Drop the Puck stuff with at Coventry last year, George is superb, and of course doesn't do an Elite League team on the regular. So, there's good stuff here everywhere. But yeah, roll on Saturday. I'm really excited for it, and I'm excited. Like I say, if nothing else, I'm manifesting it into existence, because of course that NIHL connection I manifested and got commentary as a thing when I wanted to do it. I'm going to manifest that I get to call Brynley Caps' first goal in the Elite League. That's the thing I'm putting out there. Wouldn't it be fun if I got to do that? He got very, very close. He got his first point in league play first point for the Coventry Blaze as they battered Fife last weekend. I'm going to call that into existence. See, for that little thread of NIHL through everything, I'll get to call Brynley Caps' first professional goal this weekend. Let's see what happens there. I don't really believe in manifesting in that sense, but saying the thing out loud seems to serve me really, really well. Right, 2 more minutes and then we're going to get out of here. Questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything else anybody wants to chuck into the chat, please chuck it in the chat now because we're going to do it and we're going to do it quickly. Before we head out of there, let's just double check if anything else. I just see as well that the Billingham Stars, if you don't listen to the Billingham Stars cast with Craig Simpson and Carol and Jono, just see that they've sorted out the audio issues that they were having earlier today. So if you do listen to them on the regular, do go check that out. Still 5-0 to the Devils in the third period. I mean, talk about a bad night for Yuna Hutula, their new Finnish netminder, because 5 goals shipped in 2 periods, and at 43:51, delay of game, puck over the glass. Oh no, probably Hutala's the defenseman. Why have I got that? Was really special of me, wasn't it? It's because the new netminder is Jere Hutama, and I've just managed to confuse the 2 people around. Hutama and Hutala. Sounds like I'm singing a Beatles song, specifically of the Sgt. Pepper variety. But yeah, 5-0 up after 25 minutes. Deary me. That is a bad night at the office for Sheffield. Right. I think, just like I said, because I've got something I've got to do in a couple of minutes, I will, not to kill off things too quickly, but we will call it there. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, your number one source for all things related to the NIHL and whatever it is I'm doing in the Elite League. But yes, tons and tons of stuff for you to read. Our mini-series, In the Box Thinking, as part of Banners on the Road, where you follow me through my weird and wonderful winding journey through British ice hockey. In-depth reviews of all the games that I go to, as well as Hockey Stories. That is our long-form in-depth pieces of content from the 19th century to the present day, behind the Iron Curtain, into war and beyond. Do go and check those bits and pieces out. The last piece, of course, was When the Music Stops, which was an in-depth look about why players retire. And of course, like I said, go check out our WNHL primer written by the man, the myth, the legend is Mr. Andrew Day. The back catalogue of the old BOTW podcast is there, as well as Dice Hockey, our free to download game that you can play with bits and pieces around your house. All we ask is if you download it and you do enjoy it, please do chuck a couple of quid towards Parkinson's UK, because my dad has Parkinson's and Parkinson's sucks. So let's put money towards research and a cure. That'd be massive. But yes, 13 and a half, nearly 14 years worth of stuff over on bannersonthewall.wordpress.com as we edge towards our 1000th article published. Facebook.com/bannersonthewall. If you like things through your Facebook feed, do go hit the like button on there. Everything goes onto the website. Links for the streams and stuff will all come through that, so you can get those there as well. Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it, @BannersOTW. That's the best place to keep up with me and my kind of rolling commentary on hockey, or where I apparently argue with Sheffield fans about netminder signings. But plenty of stuff over on there. Blue Sky, Banners on the Wall. Search for us on there. You will find us there too. As well as our virtual busking hat, which is over at buymeacoffee.com/BOTW. Never going behind a paywall. That's just not the way it is. But it costs to do things in this world of capitalism. So if you'd like to help keep the wheels spinning and keep the lights on, chuck us a couple of quid. It's massively appreciated. It all goes back into doing bits and pieces to do with BOTW. But of course, if you forget any of those links, we're live on YouTube. Head down to the description and get all the links that you need from there. But on the way past, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Share the videos out. It really, really helps. I know it sounds really, really cheesy, but it genuinely does help. The way these algorithms work, the more likes and comments and bits and pieces like that, the more likely the stuff is to appear. But also as well on the Banners on the Wall YouTube channel, you've not just got all the streams, but you've got lots and lots of interviews, things that are part of our Hockey Stories series, interviews with the movers and shakers of British hockey, plenty of stuff to keep you entertained. But that's the joy. And then, of course, you can come back here Wednesday nights, 8 p.m, for the only show that covers all 5 divisions of the NIHL. That's here at the BOTW What's Current stream from Banners on the Wall. Hello. 6-0 Devils over Steelers now for Cole Sanford. At what stage does Curtis Warburton get into the net, you wonder? I'm saying nothing. I'm saying nothing at all. I've gotten into enough trouble already. Yeah. Roll on the weekend. And hopefully the weather not being quite as crap. That'd be really, really appreciated as well. But massively looking forward to it. Can't complain about getting to do the things that you want. And getting to talk about hockey is just the best, isn't it? Isn't it wonderful? Be happy. And if you can't be happy, then wherever you are, then please do make sure that you are really, really safe. as my friend Scotty Walls would say, take care of yourself and somebody else. For banners on the wall at WordPress.com, this is Anthony Russell saying stay safe. And so on to next time. If you're in Guildford, come say hello, but enjoy your hockey wherever you find it. You guys take care. We'll see you back here next Wednesday night for the BOTW. What's current?